Tom had only worked 2 years. After starting his career as a farm agent, Tom enlisted in the Army on March 20th, 1942 in Charlotte, North Carolina, to fulfill his civic duty, bravely serving in World War II to defend our freedoms and those of our allies. By May 11, 1942, the Sanford Herald reported that Tom had volunteered for service in the U.S. Army and was now stationed at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Once at Fort Belvoir, he began rigorous training designed to prepare engineers for combat during World War II. This training was particularly intense. What did engineering training entail in 1942? Well, let's go back in time and visit Fort Belvoir and observe the demanding training these young men underwent before being deployed to combat zones overseas.
The Corps of Engineers from Fort Belvoir to all theaters of operations. An engineer's war, a specialized war, a war of complexities and scope, demanding the ultimate in trained manpower. Engineers must be oriented and adapted to a multitude of tasks. They must be ready for specific assignments wherever battle lines are drawn and behind the lines. They must be ready to build and to destroy, to attack and to fight off counterattack. They must be trained to the minute. The basic lessons of soldiering start the recruit on a course of great variety. All his talents toward skill, ingenuity, and application are to be challenged. The art of reducing the work of hours to briefest minutes. All these plus a mountain of other training details to get ready for that important day when, as engineers, they must move in with an attacking army. Down the nets in drill procedure.
The Sanford Herald reported on October 15, 1942, that Tom had successfully completed his training at the Officers Training School at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and had been commissioned as a lieutenant. Subsequently, he transferred to Will Rogers Field in Oklahoma. His tenure there was brief before he was reassigned to Tinker Field, as noted in the February 1, 1943 edition of the News and Record. It was reported that on January 31st, he served as one of the officers on duty. At Tinker Field, he held the rank of second lieutenant and was the company commander of an engineer aviation battalion, which was part of the new Air Service Command dedicated to aircraft maintenance and repair, as well as the training of air depot groups. The News and Record reported on April 7, 1943, that Tom had been promoted once again to first lieutenant and had been transferred to Eglin Field, Florida. A little over a year later, Tom was transferred once more, this time outside of the United States. According to the September 24, 1944 edition of the News and Record, Tom was assigned to New Guinea. Once Tom arrived in New Guinea, the work he and his fellow soldiers had trained for commenced. However, heavy rains flooded the area, making it extremely challenging, at times nearly impossible, to get the planes airborne due to the muddy airstrips. The soldiers toiled in the downpour, doing their utmost to make the airstrip usable and the newly constructed roads passable. Morale among the soldiers was low as they longed for their families back in the United States. According to the September 21, 1944 edition of the Sanford Herald, Tom expressed that he missed receiving letters from home. The conflict in New Guinea was escalating in intensity. U.S. and Australian soldiers joined forces to combat the Japanese invasion. The heat and humidity added to the difficulty of their task, feeling uncomfortable and fatigued. In January 1945, the American Red Cross was dispatching support to Lae, New Guinea, where Tom was stationed. The Red Cross staff ventured into dangerous territories, facing risk in some of the most dangerous areas of the time. A significant number of American Red Cross members were women, dedicated to uplifting soldier spirits. They created clubs to offer brief distractions, allowing soldiers a respite from the intense fighting. These women, affectionately known as Donut Dollies or the Gray Lady, often wore grayish-bluish uniforms representing the American Red Cross. They assisted the wounded soldiers in writing letters home. They engaged in games, and they even participated in crafting activities. The American Red Cross slogan was, "Your Red Cross is at his side." Now let's listen to Jean Holderidge Reeves, who was a member of the American Red Cross, as she recounts the captivating story of her journey to Lae, New Guinea during the war and her first encounter with Tom Reeves.
They docked at Hollandia in the dark and took us off of the ship in the dark because there had been some kind of munitions, torpedoes or something, and that we never knew until later. So in the dark, they took us off and loaded us on an open, big truck. So we're sitting in the back like we're cattle.
Oh my goodness.
With our luggage, and I don't know, I think there were 20 some of us. And we don't know where we are. Have no idea where we are.
You hadn't been told your final destination?
Oh no,
Okay.
this is wartime.
Yeah.
You don't know where you are. But we could tell after they began to move the truck, we could tell we were going uphill. So they took us up this hill. When we get up, and then there were several of these Quonset huts. You know what a Quonset hut is?
No.
It's for the Navy.
Okay.
And when we go to bed, we're in a Quonset hut. In the morning, when we wake up, we see another Quonset hut across the way from us, which eventually we found out had been General MacArthur's headquarters. So that's where we were put to stage, and Betty and I, who was a girl from Galesburg, Illinois, who had earlier served in Iceland
Wow.
as a Red Cross worker. I think we were the last ones to be sent out to our station.
Mm-hmm.
And finally one day we get our orders. I think everybody else had left, and we get our orders to Lae, New Guinea.
Mm-hmm.
We're to report to the airstrip at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So I don't remember how we got there, but anyway, we did. And they gave us a cheese sandwich. As I remember, it was white bread with nothing in it but some cheese. There was no butter, no mayonnaise. Now this is 3 o'clock in the morning, and it took us until 6 o'clock that night to get to our destination. We had that one cheese sandwich. I think we stopped at 3 different places before we got to our destination of Lae, Lae-Nadzab. Now Nadzab was 25 miles inland. So it's 6 o'clock at night, and Tom's friend Pat happened to be down on at the airstrip. And he calls up to Tom, and see, Tom is in charge of all the utilities on the base. And this had been some 800 or 8,000 or 80,000. I don't know how many of them. It had to have been more than 8,000 people there because they had a general hospital, and that's where the 800 came in, I think.
Wow.
Anyway, so he had the water, the telephone, the everything. He was in charge of it. And Pat says, 2 Red Cross girls just came in. I want the dark hair, and you can have the blonde.
Were you the blonde or the dark-haired girl?
I was the blonde. So Tom calls up and wants to speak to the new girl. Virginia was our director. She was in charge of the women who were there. And she comes and tells me that they want a date. They said, no way. We're not interested in a date. We've been up since 3 o'clock this morning. All we've had is one sandwich. Forget it. So, in a little bit, Virginia comes back. Of course, we didn't know what the situation was, you know.
So he threatened to turn off the water if y'all didn't go on a date with him?
And then I guess the next threat was the electricity, and I don't know. Came back with all these threats, and of course, here we are, you know, new kids on the block, and finally, when they just absolutely would not give up, we said, okay, we'd go. Irving Berlin was there with his troop to play This Is the Army. So of course it really was a big deal. You know what a command car is? A big, heavy, I remember it was open. And anyway, so they come and get us, and we go. Pat with Betty, and I'm with Tom, and as I remember, Tom was driving. So we go to see the Army, and I probably fell asleep.
What did you think of Grandad when you first saw him?
Oh, he was good looking. Good looking, dark hair, and so forth. Man, you know, all dressed up in their uniforms, which of course they weren't fatigues, they're just the khakis.
Okay.
Join us next time to witness the growth of the new friendship between Tom and Jean and discover what unfolds when Tom returns home after the war.